Hello everybody. Welcome back to another session on logic development. We're discussing iterative construct, that is loops. Yesterday I had given one assignment. Has anybody solved that particular assignment? I see Ashish and Viraj sharing that solution. Anybody else has solved that particular assignment? Prithviraj has also shared the solution. That's good, but everybody should share the solution. What was the question, by the way? What is the question? Anybody?
Accept
Louder,
an
please.
integer,
Uh,
accept an integer and then print the first n terms from the following series.
Got it. 1 factorial divided by 1, 2 factorial divided by 2, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see what have you done. Whose solution is this?
Mine.
Number of which factorial is to be found. Arey baap re. Now this is too long a name, Prithviraj. Okay, make it short. Okay, num factorial, that's okay. And that too factorial spelling, oh, that's correct. But that I, that becomes difficult. Integer limit, integer factorial, factorial is equal to 1. Please enter. What's the spelling of enter? So, you said, please enter the number up to which factorials are to be printed. Actually, it was please enter the number of terms. Because there is a series that has been given to you, and you just want to print number of terms from that particular series, correct? So it is not about factorial. Was it about factorial 1 factorial divided by 1? Is it about factorial? No, it is about number of terms from that given series. So Prithviraj, you need to change this particular message. Although I understand why you are saying factorial, but then the series that has been given us 1 factorial by 1, 2 factorial divided by 2, and so on. Input the limit. The series is as follows. Number of which factorial is found is equal to 1 to limit. 1 to limit. So if I say 5, you're going to start with 1 to 5. That's okay. And then factorial is equal to factorial into value of factorial for the first time is 1. We're saying 1 into number of factorial to be found. 1 into 1 is 1. So you display 1. Output is equal to factorial. That's too much of effort that you have put in anyway. Number becomes 2. So you're saying 2 into number of factorial is 2. 1 into 2 is 2. So you display 2. Next time number becomes 3. Factorial is 2. 3 into 2 is 6. You divide it by 3. So you again display 2. Is that how it is?
Yes.
Okay, let's run the code and see. If I give the input as 5, so the output is 1 factorial divided by 1 is 1, 2 factorial divided by 2 is 2. Is that right, Prithviraj?
So only calculated the factorial, did not divide.
And 3 factorial divided by 3 is 6.
No, it's only 3 factorial.
Okay, so something is wrong. Can you identify what is wrong?
Did not divide. Yes.
Pardon?
Did not divide the factorial by the number.
You did not divide the factorial. So this has gone wrong. You although gave the correct message, but the division was not done. So let's keep this solution aside. Let's look at the next one. Whose solution is this?
Sir, my Viraj.
Viraj. It takes the counter limit product equal to 1. And now please enter the integer. Why I saying integer? It is like please enter the number of terms to be printed, correct? And please enter integer input 1 to limit. Okay. Product number plus 1. Oh no. This will not give you one term. This will only give you one term. That means if I run this particular program, if I give input as 5, you're going to get only one answer, that is 24. Actually, I wanted to have 5 terms from that series. I had given you series 1 factorial divided by 1, comma, 2 factorial divided by 2, comma, 3 factorial divided by 3, comma. So 5 numbers were to be printed. Here you are printing only one number. So that's not right. I think this is Ashish's solution. He says, please
Yes,
enter
sir.
integer. I would not say integer. Please enter the number of terms to be printed. That's how you say. Input, the first output integer series is as follows. First is number. Number ka value, if I say 10, the first 10, okay, integers series as follows. First 10 terms from the following series are as follows. Counter equal to 1 to num, okay. Where is equal to 1 to counter. A loop within a loop. Okay, let us see. Actually, this is the topic for today's discussion, but I need to figure out, is this really required? Ashish, can you just explain me why is this done?
Sir, for calculating the factorial.
So you're first calculating the factorial, dividing the factorial with that particular counter, and then
Yes.
displaying that particular answer. Then
Yes.
why you're calling this as answer? It's factorial, na?
Yes.
Okay, anyway. That's it. For where in the range of 1 to counter, so you're finding factorial of counter, and every time you are ensuring that answer is set to value as 1. So Ashish, to just avoid any confusion, you should have set this particular value 1 over here. That will make it more meaningful. That means before we start, we'll always have value of answer as 1. So what is Ashish doing? Understand everybody. He says for counter in the range of 1 to num. So if I give 5, this loop will run 5 times. Counter loop will run 5 times. For the first time, value of counter is 1. So here, this loop is writing to find factorial of 1. And he says factorial of 1 divided by 1, and then the answer. Next time, counter will be 2. So here, this loop will find factorial of 2. So factorial of 2 divided by 2, that is the answer. And I think, Ashish, you have done the right work. Let's run the code and see the behavior. User enters 5 and it displays 1, 1, 2, 6, and 24. I think this is the right answer that Ashish has come up with. So very good work, Ashish. It's a perfect answer. But have others understood this logic? He says he has taken a counter which will vary from the range of 1 to num. So for the first time, counter will be 1. This inner loop he is using to find factorial of 1 for where equal to 1 to counter. 1 is counter, 1 to 1 is 1. So answer is going to answer into where. So 1 into 1 is 1. Where becomes 2, it comes out. 1 divided by 1, answer is 1, prints it. Counter becomes 2. Answer is again set to value as 1. And where is equal to 1 to counter. So where ka value right now again becomes 1. So 1 to 2. So for the first time, 1 into 2, we go back. Counter where becomes 2. So 2 into 2, that becomes 4. Okay, 2 into 2 becomes 4. And this condition becomes false. We come out 4 divided by, counter is 1. So for the first time, 1 into 1 becomes 1. And then 1 into 2 becomes 2. So factorial of 2 is 2. So 2 divided by 2 becomes 1. So again, he displays the answer is 1. The next time counter value is 3. The answer is again reset to value as 1. Where in the range of 1 to 3. First 1 into 1. Then 1 into 2. And then 2 into 3. That becomes 6. And 6 divided by 3 again becomes 2. And that has been displayed. So it was 1, 1, 2 kind of answer was displayed. 1, 1, 2, 6, and 24. It was a perfect code that one can have. Okay, we'll just make slight changes over here. I'll not say please enter integer. I'll say how many terms you would like to print from the given series. From the given series, how many terms do you want to print? Do you want to print 14A to print? So how many terms do you want to print from the series? User gives number. Okay. Then he says the first num integers are named. First num terms from the series are as follows. Terms from the first n terms from the series are as follows. And then counter is equal to num, answer is equal to 1. That's all okay. So I just made some cosmetic changes. How many terms do you want to print from the given series? I say I want to print 10 terms from that series. So first 10 terms have been printed. 1, 1, 2, 6, 24, 120, 720, 5024, 40, and so on. So all the 10 terms from that series have correctly got printed. So have a look at this code. Ashish has done a great job. I'll save this particular program by the name of was for, and I think program number 9. It is already there. So it is 9. I'm sharing this particular file with you all. Now, again, I'm quickly going to break you all out in the room. And there is a reason why I'm going to do that.
Sir.
Before that, I'll just quickly have a look at what Kaustubh has done. Although he submitted late, but he has submitted. So let me just have a look at the solution. Let me give number as 5. And Kaustubh has actually got the idea as to what has to be done. So I have shared the code with you all. Have you all received the code? What Ashish has done? Okay. If you have received the code, other than Kaustubh, others have a look at that particular code and see, is there any scope for improvement? There is tremendous scope for improvement, which Kaustubh has really understood. Others did not really understand or did not really apply yourself. So just have a look at that particular code.
Hello,
Yes, please.
sir. Me and Rohit sir discussed it, and that solution was mutual, sir.
Jointly done. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So
Other
Rohit
solution.
and Kaustubh, they have discussed to come with the solution. But whatever they have come up with, that's the way it should have been solved. So I'm going to discuss that. But before that, all of you have a look at that code and see if there is scope for improvement.
Sir, can you send it once again? There was network issue, so I got disconnected.
I'm saying I have shared the solution right now. Have you received the solution?
No, sir. Can you please send it once again?
So here I'm sending the solution once again. Let me know if you have received that file. Have you received the file? Aditya, why is your camera off? You had a power issue yesterday. What about today? Okay. Now let's actually look into this particular code. So code was something like this. The terms that were given to you was 1 factorial was to be divided by 1. That was the first term. Second was 2 factorial was to be divided by 2. That was the second term. Third was 3 factorial divided by 3. That was the third term. Then next was 4 factorial divided by 4. That was the fourth term. And so on. It was like n factorial divided by n. Now, Kaustubh, please explain what was your idea about solving this?
Sir, so first we have to take the input from the user
Huh?
till which integer or which till which.
No. You have simplified this series.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Actually.
So
So tell me
Sir.
about this simplification.
okay, sir. So the simplification is we have to just calculate the factorial and divided by the counter value.
Okay.
So I have just applied one loop,
Hmm.
one for loop,
Hmm.
and calculate just assigning the formula of factorial in it, and we don't need to actually print out include the first term in it, because 1 factorial 1 is always equal to 1. So that's why that was not needed. Other than that, we we need to calculate other factorials. That was it, sir.
Okay,
सर मेरे पास एक आइडिया है.
एक minute. Let us see what Kaustubh has done first. So what has Kaustubh done? He has taken a variable limit. He takes a variable factorial, and he initializes particular variable factorial to value as 1. He initializes that variable factorial to value as 1. He asks the user to enter an integer. Again, this message has to change. So suppose the series is known to user. So we're saying how many terms do you want from the series? So once we have asked the user how many terms does he want from that particular series, user gives the limit. Then he says output 1 and factor is equal to 1. Now, Kaustubh, I put across your logic in a simpler way. So what has Kaustubh done? He says counter in the range of 2 to limit because he already printed 1. He has already printed 1. So the first term from the series has already been printed. A1 factor divided by 1 is 1, always. So he has already printed that 1. Here, he has already printed 1. So he says counter in range of 2 to limit. So this is from 2 to the limit n tak. And he says every time 2 to limit, 1 is already printed, 2 to limit. And then he says factor is equal to factor into counter. So factor is equal to factor into counter. Current value of factor is 1. Counter is 2. 1 into 2 becomes 2. So he says output is 2 divided by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is again 1. So that is been displayed. So first he had already printed 1. Now he has printed 2. After print 2, he goes back. Counter becomes now 3. 3 in the range of 2 to 5, suppose, yes. So factorial into factorial last time was 2. So 2 into 3 now becomes 6. Correct? And he then displays 6 divided by 3. And that again becomes how much is it? 6 divided by
2.
3. That again becomes 2.
Sir, 1, 1, 2.
Okay, let's see. For the first time it was 1. Next time it was 1 into 1, that is 1. And counter value is 2. 2 into 1 is 2. And 2 divided by 2 is 1. So second time also 1 was printed. So first one hai, and second time ka bhi answer yahan 1 aa gaya. That has now been printed. Then counter becomes 3. 3 in the range of 2 to 5, yes. So counter is 3. 3 into factorial. Factorial ka value was 2. 3 into 2 becomes 6. And 6 divided by 3 becomes 2. So here he correctly prints answer as 2. Now let me explain what Kaustubh has actually done. Why has he eliminated the need what Ashish was doing? Ashish over here had calculated factor of every number, every counter. Instead, here he is counting this because factorial of the next number is equal to factorial of the previous number in the current number. ठीक है ना? Factorial of 2 क्या है? Factorial of 1 into 2. Factorial of 3 क्या है? Factorial of 2 into 3. Factorial of 4 क्या है? Factorial of 3 into 4. So once you calculate factor of any given number, retain it because अगले number का factorial find करना है. So previous numbers factorial into the current number will give, say factorial of 4 is 24 suppose. So factorial of 5 क्या है? 24 into 5 है. That is 120. Factorial of 6 क्या है? Factorial of 5 into 6 है. So why do you need to calculate factorial again and again? Instead, we could use the same value of factorial, what was there earlier, and then we could just want to print this. So he printed 1 outside and he has avoided the need to calculate factorial, what Ashish has done every time. Instead, factorial of the previous number into the current number is factorial of the current number. The 5 ka factorial into 6 is factorial of 6. 6 ka factorial into 7 is factorial of 7. That is a logic which has eliminated the next need of nested loop. So this is far superior than what Ashish has done, although Ashish's solution was correct. So here I go, I enter 5, he says 1, 1, 2, 6, 4, and that's a perfect kind of solution that we can have. So I'm going to share this file also with you all, just to understand how in different ways, while I said Ashish has written a correct code, that was not the best code. Now, these two guys have improved on that particular code substantially. Name of the program is Factorial Assignment. And I am sharing that particular code with you all. So I'm sharing this multiple code. The reason is very simple. You should have an understanding that array same things are repeatedly, means same things, same operation can be done in different ways. But that was just by simplifying the code. Yes, Bhagishri, raise your hand. You have any question?
नो सर मैंने भी वो आपने
Bhagishri, I cannot hear you. Can anybody else hear Bhagishri?
सर असाइनमेंट सॉल्व किया है क्या आपने पूछा था ना उसके लिए रेज हैंड किया था
तो आपने शेयर नहीं
किया है सर
Okay. So let us check Bhagishri's solution. What has she done? Bhagishri, it's the same thing, same logic that these two guys have applied.
यस सर
Okay. So factor of the next number is factor of the previous number. And you have also correctly, you have printed the first number first. No,
नो
you
सर
haven't printed the first number. You started with all the numbers, correct? 1 to number.
यस
And factorial is equal to factorial into limit, and factorial divided by limit is a term, and you display the term. Let's check whether your solution is also giving the right answer. So we have seen for 5, it says 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 4, 6, and 24. Perfect one. The only difference over here and what Kaustubh and Rohit had done, they had printed one term outside and rest of the terms they had printed inside. If user says 0 terms, so in that case, you do not want to display. So Kaustubh's solution was actually wrong. Let's say
Sir,
Kaustubh's solution galat hai. Let's see. If
Sir,
I
you said
say I
non-zero
want to
value.
display 0 terms, फिर भी answer 1 दे रहा है.
sir, but you said non-zero values.
अच्छा, I had said non-zero value.
Yes, sir.
Okay, if that was what I had said, then it is correct. But let's see what happens with Bhagyashri's code. If I say 0, nothing is displayed. Okay, so that was better because that is taking care of 0 value as well. Okay, and without much of a difference. So this is how it has solved. Okay. So we have multiple solutions for the same problem. I'm sharing this solution also with you, slightly different than what these guys have done. Ashish, you were saying something.
सर लॉजिकल नहीं है पर तो भी मतलब अगर सीरीज देखी ना हमने
हाँ.
तो वो ऐसा है कि 1 एक बार प्रिंट किया उसके बाद वो फैक्टोरियल का ही सारी सीरीज 1 का
That's very
फैक्टोरियल
correct.
सेकंड पोजीशन पे
One print करने से नहीं, it is factorial of only all numbers. One
Yes.
अलग कुछ करने की जरूरत नहीं है.
नहीं सर 2 बार 1 आ रहे हैं ना तो पहला
अरे,
1
देखो तो चिंता ना करो. If you look at this question very carefully, ये 1 आया, then 1 आ गया, then 2 आ गया. Factor of 4 is 24. 24 divided by 4 is how much?
6.
3
6 है.
फैक्टोरियल
Okay, and आगे if I take one more term, 5 factorial is 120. 120 divided by 5 is how much?
24
24.
24. Correct? 120 divided by 5 will be 24. If you watch it very carefully, what is factorial of 0?
1
1.
1. What is factorial of 1?
1
1. What is factorial of 2?
2
And 3?
6
And 4?
24
तो कोई 5 कहता है, तो I can start counting from 0 ना? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. Okay, so let's make this thing improve on this code, which what Bhagyashri has also done to get the best answer. So I call it as for 10. The terms are as follows. Instead of starting limit from 0, 1, I start limit from 0. And I'll go till num minus 1. And that we could have reduced num minus 1. For limit in the range of 0 to num minus 1. Whenever you write expression, always make it a practice to use brackets. I'll rather reduce the num over here earlier itself, so I don't have to do it every time. So that correction I'll do. So factorial for the first time is 0. And here we have the value. So what I'm going to do now is, if I run in this fashion, factorial ka initial value is correctly taken as 1. Yes, correctly taken it as 1. So just for our knowledge, initial value of factorial is correctly as 1. But 1 into limit, what will you get? Limit nahi chahiye tha here over here. This was not limit. Limit was your number actually, number of terms that you would like to print. So this limit variable was not the right name. I could have just said counter. That would have been a better name. Limit was not the right name to give to this particular variable. A limit looks like the last value we would like to print. That sounds like limit. So I'm changing the name, Bhagyashree. Okay, and one more small change I'll have to do to make it perfect. But let's see what is the problem first. So counter value is 0 hai. So if I say factorial ka value for the first time is 1, so 1 into 0 will become 1 into 0. 0. So if I want to run this particular program, and even if I enter 5, you're going to it generates an error because you're saying 0 divided by 1 or 0 divided by 0 kind of thing. So that's all wrong. So this division operation was just not necessary. So I get rid of this division operation. I run the code once again. I enter number like 5 and let's see what answers do we get. It still says mathematical, no number can be divided by 0. So where are we trying to divide the number by 0? So let me save this particular 5. Here we are saying factorial divided by counter. So I don't need this factorial divided by counter. So term is equal to factorial into counter is what I want. That's it. Factorial into counter. So let's see now. If I run this particular program, it says 5. So it says 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. But we did not want 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. What did we want?
1, 1, 1. 1, 1.
Kya chahiye tha? 1, 1, 2,
6.
6, 24, and so on. So why is it so happening? That's because factorial for the first time is 1. Counter is 0. So 1 into 0 becomes
0.
0. Correct? Term becomes 0. So you say output term 1 factorial is equal to 0. And we go back. Counter now becomes 1. So factorial ka value for the first time is 0. So 0 into 1?
0.
And we are displaying counter. So we did not display counter. We had to display term. So let's say we have displayed the term. So why are we not getting everywhere 0? Let's check it out. It says term 1, 0 is 0. Term 1 is 1. Term 2 is 2. Term 3 is 3. Term 4 is 4. Why is displaying 0, 1, 2, 3, 4? How is that? So let's see what are we doing. Factorial ka value for the first time has become 0 because counter is 0. 0 into 1 is 0. The term has become 0. The term has become 0. This is not calculating the factorial correctly. This is not calculating the factorial correctly. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. This is the term. Term is counter. So I'll rather say factorial is equal to. So let's run this code now. So if I run this code, if I say 5, it's saying error. Okay, what's an error? Let's check it out. Here we are trying to display term. Actually, I'll display. Factorial. Let's run the code. I enter number like 5 and I got all zeros. Why did I get all zeros? Because factorial value initially is 1. 1 into 0 becomes 0. And 0 into anything is every time 0. So if I multiply factorial with any other value of counter, counter becomes 1. 0 into 1 is 0. 0 into 3 is 0. 0 into 5 is 0. So we're getting only answer as 0. So this is not solving our problem. Correct? This is not solving our problem. So I wanted this particular thing to be resolved in a much easier way. So how can we go about doing that particular operation? And I definitely do not want to use the nested loop. So for the first time, if the factorial of that particular variable was 1, so here if I display 1 for the first time. Now after I have displayed 1, the first term will correctly display as 1. Yahan se okay, yahan tak 1 to display ho jayega. It will correctly display as 1. But then after it has displayed value of factorial as 1, I would like to find factorial of 2. Second number ka factorial find karna hoga. Okay, because first 0 का factorial find करेंगे, that is 1, that is displayed. So term counter का value, I'll take term, I'll say starting with 1. So the term 1 output is equal to, I'll say 1. For the first time 1 has got displayed. Counter now becomes 2. So the term 2 factorial is what? So I would like to multiply and find out the factorial. So here we go. Let's see if I write a statement over here, something like this, will it solve? If I now say factorial into counter. Let's run the code and see. If I enter number like 5, it says 1, 1, 2, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4 हो गए. Okay.
Oh, num
Now,
minus
since we made one change over here, we started with 1. I'll go till num minus 1 की जगह till less than num तक चलते हैं, because I'm starting with 1 ना, instead of 0, I'm starting with num 1. So I run this particular program, and if I enter 5, it says 1, 1, 2, 4, 24. अरे कहाँ रहा है? If I enter number like 10, we had the answers earlier. 1, 1, 2, 6, 24, 120, 72. It is working correct. We got the answer correctly. 1, 1. पहले 3 terms चाहिए थे. 1, 1, 2. वही है पहले 3 terms आपके. 1, 1, 2. Then 6 and 24. Then 6 and 24. It's working right. So what is the change that we have done to solve this particular example? Watch it very carefully. We don't need the terms are as follows. So I don't need this variable called as term. It's only the statement that I want. So I'm just going to delete some variables. I don't need this particular variable. We did not observe the question. So this was nothing but factorial of 0. This was nothing but factorial of 1. Next was factorial of 1. Next was factorial of 2. Next was factorial of 3. And next was factorial of 4. So you just have to display this. So what did I do? I took the factorial value as 1 initially. Counter the 1 to num, so it will run 5 times. In num agar 5, it will run 5 times. First time I display factorial, that is 1 that I have displayed. I display the factorial 1. Then I say factorial will factor into counter. So 1 into 1 will become
1.
1.
I go back. Counter now becomes 2. But I'm not going to display factorial of 2. I'm going to display counter here factorial. Factorial of 1 when display here. And that was 1. We had already calculated. So factorial of 1 into 2 now becomes 2. So by the time counter has become 3. Okay. But I'm displaying factorial of 2. Then factorial of 2, that is 2 into 3, that becomes 6. And then I go ahead and display. So what I'm doing first, for the first time when I'm printing, it is factorial of 0 that has been printed. And then I have calculated the factorial of 1. And then I print factorial of 1, and then I calculate factorial of 2. I print factorial of 2 and calculate factorial of 3. I print factorial of 3 and calculate factorial of 4. I get my point? So I'm first going to print factorial of 0, that is 1, and then calculate factorial of 1. And then I'm going to print factorial of 1 and then calculate factorial of 2. So what I have done over here is simplified this question even further. It was just printing factorial of all numbers in the range of 0 to n. 0 to number means 0 से 0, 1, 2, 5 कहा तो 0 का factorial, 1 का factorial, 2 का factorial, 3 का factorial, 4 का factorial. But then just to take care of the problem that Ashish was thinking about, he was thinking of printing it earlier. So print ही करना था आपको earlier, यानी before we calculate the factorial. So print कर दो ना, you print the answer and then calculate the factorial. What you had thought about was printing this answer outside first and then calculate factorial of 1 and then print the result. So instead I'm saying print the result and then calculate the factorial of the next number. Keep it ready. Okay, so if user says 5, you're going to calculate factorial of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 as well, but not print for 5. Print only till 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, because counter becomes num. We come out of that loop. Counter becomes 5, it comes out of the loop. Okay, or when it becomes 6, you come out of the loop. So this is how simple the solution was. There was nothing, and you had already calculated factorial of a number. It was just like every term from that number was to be printed. And the only difference was we were first printing the result and then calculating the factorial of the next number. So this is how you have to look at the code, analyze the code, and do not make it unnecessarily complex. It was the simplest code And look, it is just calculation of factorial. The only difference is we used to first calculate factorial and then print it. Here I am first printing and then I'm calculating factorial. That's the only change that we have done. Otherwise, we used to write this statement over here and then print it. I have only printed the term factorial first, that so that it will print 1 first and then calculate factorial of 1. तो अगली बार 1 का factorial print करेगा, 2 का calculate करके रखेगा, factorial of 3 print करेगा, 3 का calculate करके रखेगा, and so on it will proceed further. So this is how you write efficient code. So do not make the things unnecessarily complex. When life is easier, keep it easy. Don't make it complex. So let's say 11 and I save it and I share with you. But let me know, have you understood the logic that I applied? Because that's very important. Not that I share the solution. So we have solved this example in so many different ways. And the last technique that I solved, all the problems have been taken care of. No division, no calculation of factor of every number separately, because factor of a number is equal to factor of the previous number into the current number. So once you have calculated factor of, you have factor of 0 as 1. So 0 ka factor into 1 becomes factor of 1. So that's the basic idea that I used. Watch it. I'll repeat it once again if you to understand. I have already assumed this is factor of 0. So factor of 0 into 1 becomes factor of 1. Next time, counter becomes 2. So factor of 1 into 2 becomes factor of 2. Next time, counter becomes 3. Factor of 2 into 3 becomes factor of 3. Just that we'll print factor of 2 and calculate factor of 3. We'll print factor of 3 and calculate factor of 4. Have you all understood this? Quick feedback. I shared the file with you all. Have a look at that file if need be, and let me know if you have understood. So at times problems are appearing difficult, they are actually simple. And at times problems appear very simple and they're very complex. So you have to be very, very careful when you look at that particular problem statement. And even when all of you who got it right, shouldn't stop by getting it right. Ashish did it. I'll tell you what Ashish did. I can read your minds. He read the problem and he solved the problem as the problem statement was defined. So it was 1 factorial divided by 1. So he found the factorial of 1 and divided it by 1. 2 factorial divided by 2. So he made a provision to run the loop the term number of times. And every time he has calculated factorial number and divided by that particular counter. Okay. So again, Ashish, I think you did not spend too much of time in simplifying that particular series. Then Kaustubh, Rohit, Bhagyashree tried to simplify that particular series. But after simplifying, did not see the results. Had you seen as to what is being printed, then life would have been more easier. You simplified the series, but I wonder why did you stop and not looked at the result that that series is printing? You all ignored factor of 0 is 1. Ye ignore kar liya. Had that been taken into consideration, forget about nested loop, that division of by divided by 2, divided by 3, divided by 4, nothing of that sort was required. Okay, so that's how the solution was. So I hope all of you understood this now. Quick feedback. Everybody give me a quick feedback. Ankita. Okay. Now that we have got the feedback, and by this time you should realize how can we go ahead simplifying. So we had such a nice opportunity today. Ashish comes with the correct solution. Viraj goes wrong, but he makes an attempt. Ashish comes with the correct solution. Kaustubh and Rohit improves on that solution. Bhagyashree improves it still further. And we saw the solution was far more simpler than what all of you had done. So don't stop once you get the solution. Try and optimize it. Try and make it more efficient. Reduce the number of steps. Make it less complex. Okay. Simplicity is the key for success. Keep it simple as possible. But we are at times lazy. Ho gaya na kaam. Chalo, somehow it is running, getting with the answer. That attitude is not a sign of a good developer. You should always think, if you get the right answer the very first time, ask yourself whether you missed out something. Okay. Because most of the time you do not get the answer very correct for the first time, even when you are designing algorithm. So pinch yourself, and check, अरे ऐसा कैसे हो गया, पहले इसमें सही कैसे आ गया, have I missed out something, have I not tested for all the cases? So test for all cases, test for all scenarios, and then go back and see, okay, now that is correct, let me keep this solution aside and think about, look at that solution, look at the result, and think about, can I improve somewhere, can I reduce the some operations? Okay, always ask those questions to yourself and discuss with your friends, because discussion leads to improvement. So do discuss with others. Okay, anybody has any query before I go ahead? Anybody has any query? No? So take the next question. Accept an integer. Accept integer n, suppose, just for our understanding. And print. And print the first n terms from the following series. Print first n terms from the following series. You will say, sir, क्या लगा रखा है? अभी तो discuss किया हमने. So yes, we did discuss it right now, but now the series is going to be different. And you all are going to be going into different groups, and you'll discuss it and then come with an idea as to how this particular problem could have been solved. So let me show you the series first. So if the input is n, the series that we have over here is something like this. Watch it. This is a series that we have. 1:1, second is 2:2, 3:3, 4:4, 5:5, and n:n. This is the series that we have.
नोटपैड पे 1:1 कैसे
Come again?
किया आपने?
Come again.
It is notepad or a whiteboard?
I couldn't hear you. Come again.
तो नोटपैड में वो लिखा है या whiteboard में?
I wrote it in MS Word. Word.
Okay.
I have shared that file problem statement with you. Have you received it, everybody?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm going to break you out into how many partners you would like to have in a team? 3 or 4?
3.
3. Okay, so I'll break you into 4 teams. Discuss and solve this. The rooms are open for all of you. If you have solved one,
That
here in the chat window, if you have solved.
that it.
Okay, those who are solved, share the solution, please. I have only one solution, so only one team has solved.
No, sir, wait, I am sharing.
Okay, what we'll do is now, we'll actually go ahead with pseudocode for it. Okay. So the problem statement that was given to you is to print these terms 1:1, 2:2, 3:3, and 3:3 is not square of 3, 4:4 is not square of 4, 5:5 is not square of 5. Keep that thing in mind. It is not about square. It is 5:5. That means we had written the program to find a raised to b, exponent and coefficient. We had written that kind of base and power, base and exponent is what we had written. So it's that kind of code, but it has to be done repeatedly for several values. So let's go ahead solving this, but this time around, we'll come with a pseudocode for it. Instead of flowchart, we'll come with pseudocode. So I'll write the statement first. From the following series. So that's the problem statement that we have. Now that we have this problem statement, let's think about the solution. And I'm going to write the pseudocode for it. So we'll first start. That's our variable. We'll define all the variables that are required. So we are defining the variable. And one variable will require to keep a count as to how many terms are there. And that definitely has to be an integer type of variable. So I'll say numeric, or I could just say integer counter. That's the first variable that I need. But I also want to decide where to stop. So I'll say integer number of terms. So number of terms is another variable that we have taken. Number of terms. Then we would like to calculate the result of that number raised to that particular number. That result is what we would like to calculate. Everybody pay attention over here. अगर आप ध्यान नहीं दोगे यहाँ वहाँ देखते रहोगे, you never be in a position to understand. The integer counter, integer number of terms is what we have taken. Now we would like to construct a loop that will get executed that many number of times. So first we'll ask the user how many terms you would like to have. So I'm going to ask the user by saying display how many terms do you want? And then I'm going to accept number of terms. I accept the number of terms. So we started this particular code. We have defined the variables. We're asking the user how many terms we would like to have, and we accepted number of terms. So I'm going to construct a for loop that will just get executed number of terms times. So that's what I would like to do. So I'll say for counter in the range, something counter in the range of what? Of 1 to number of terms. And note, I'm not going to say step. Okay. So I say do, and here I say end for. So whatever I will have to do repeatedly, that code I will write in between this do and end for, or for and for is also okay. I could just say do or for and end for. Between this, I'm going to write that entire code. So my entire code will come between for and end for. Whatever I'd like to do n number of times. Suppose over here, I write only one statement saying display counter. So in that case, for the first time, value of counter will be in the range 1 to number of terms. Suppose you entered number of terms as 4. So the value of counter would be 1 to 4. So for the first time, counter will get value as 1, they will print 1, it will become 2. Is 2 in the range of 1 to 4, it will print 2, it will become 3. Is 3 in the range of 1 to 4? Yes, it will print 3, it will become 4. 4 in the range of 1 to 4, yes, it will print 4, it will become 5. Is 5 in the range of 1 to 4? False. So when I do not say specify step value, always assume step value is by default 1. So if I have to say step value, that's very good idea. So I say for count in the range of 1 to number of terms, you may have said 5 or you may have said 500. So for counter in the range of 1 to 5, step 1, display counter. This will display counter number. Suppose number of terms is 10. It will display numbers in the range of 1 to 10. ये 1 to 10 तक सारे numbers print करेगा. Here, after every time printing one value of counter, it is going to increment the value of counter by 1. एक से counter की value increment करने वाला. So if I suppose if I wanted to cross check this, the best way to do that is by doing hand run. We are lucky to have logarithm, but we do not always have logarithm with us. So if we do not always have logarithm with us, then how do we go ahead understanding or checking whether the solutions are right or not? In such cases, what we do is we go ahead with doing something called as dry run. So let me show you hand run or dry run that we have been talking about earlier. So if I have to do a dry run, what we do is we write statement something like this. We write something like this. Above this line, I'm going to print or keep all my variables. Here I'm going to keep my output. So I'll say over here, I'll have my output. What is output? And over here, I'll have all my variables. So in this variable, in this example, we have one variable called as counter, and we have another variable called as number of terms. So these are two things that we have. There are two variables that we have. Also notice none of these variables have been given some initial value. If these variables were given some initial value, then in that case, those initial values will appear above this line. Now, mark my word, these are standard ways of representation. So if there was some initial value for this particular number, suppose if I had said number of terms is equal to 0, if I had said over here, so in that case, that 0 I'll write over here. Currently, there is no initial value, so I'll just put question mark. There is no initial value for this variable. So I just put question mark. Watch it very carefully. Yeah. Then I ask the user, how many terms do you want? I'm teaching you how to do the dry run. Remember, you will not have logarithm always with you. So you should be in a position to trace your code on the piece of paper. So जो logarithm आपको करके दे रहा है, same thing we should be in a position to do on your own. So that I'm teaching you how to do dry run right now. So here we ask the user how many terms you would like to have. User says you would like to have 4 terms. So user enters number like 4. User enters number like 4. So you would like to have 4 terms that is to be printed. Then we say for count in the range of 1 to number of terms. Number of terms is 4. But when I say for counter in the range of 1 to number of terms, in that case, what happens is, this value 1 now becomes the first value of this particular variable counter. It becomes the first value of that particular variable counter. So counter value now becomes 1. Counter value becomes 1. Then we check, is 1 in the range of 1 to 5, 1 to 4, number of terms is 4. Number of term value if I have 4 hai. We check, is 1 in the range of 1 to 4, true or false? Ajinkya? Aditya?
Yes.
Is it true or false? Is 1 in the range of 1 to 4?
Yes, sir.
It is true. Since this condition is true, since your value of counter lies in the range of 1 to number of terms, that is 4, we go inside and we display the value of counter. So if you're going to display something, that display will come over here. So we have displayed 1. After we have finished displaying this particular value 1, we are going to say step 1. Step 1 will increment the value of counter by 1. So the value of counter which was earlier 1 will now become 2 because it says step 1. So this step what we give is for this counter. That means after executing the statements, that means after executing the statements which are present inside the body of the loop. So currently this is the only statement which is present inside the body of the loop. After executing the statement inside the body of the loop, the value of counter will increment or decrement by this value. If I say step 1 increment, if I say step -1, it would have decremented. It would have decremented. So you'll get increment or decremented by 1. Current value of counter was 1, so now it becomes 2. But your number of terms still remains 4, so there is no change as far as number of terms goes. It's still 4. So we check, is 1 in the range of 1? Nahi. Now counter value is 2. Is 2 in the range of 1 to 4? Ankita, is that true or false? Ankita, is that true or false?
Yes, sir.
Is it true or false?
Sir, it's true.
What is true?
That the number is in the range.
Of
The n numbers.
no, what is the number? Which number is in the range of which number? Tell me.
So 1 to 4, 1 to 4, 2 is in the range of 1 to 4.
Very correct. 2 is in the range of 1 to 4. Since 2 is in the range of 1 to 4, since this condition is satisfied, we go inside and we display the value of counter. Value of counter currently is 2. So 2 is printed. After printing 2, step 1. That means after you have executed this statement, value of counter is going to get incremented by 1. So counter का value जो 2 था, now this value of counter will now become 3. A counter becomes 3. Counter now becomes 3. So counter has become 3, and we check, is 3 in the range of 1 to 4? That's true, because your number of terms has not changed. It is still 4. So we check, is 3 in the range of 1 to 4? Yeah, it is true. So we go and display counter. So whatever is your display, that display will always come over here. So what is your display? That display will always come here. So we have displayed 3. After we have displayed 3, that means the counter has been displayed. We say step 1. The moment I say step 1, value of counter, this is unchanged. So this is always going to remain 4. But this now becomes 4. Now we check, is 4 in the range of 1 to 4? Monica? Is 4 in the range of 1 to 4?
Yes.
Condition is true. So we go inside and we display the value of counter. Value of counter is 4. So we display value 4. But after displaying this value of counter 4, step 1, so counter value now becomes 5. Your number of terms is still 4, that is unchanged. But this counter value now becomes 5. Now Viraj, is 5 in the range of 1 to 4?
No, sir. No, sir.
Viraj,
Sir, hello.
is 5 in the range of 1 to 4?
No, sir. No, sir.
Condition is false. Since the condition is false, the loop gets over, we come out of the loop and we stop the program. So I'll say stop over. So this was the code that we have written to do what? To print the numbers in the ascending order from 1 to n. So it did not solve this particular question though. It did not solve this particular question. So we are still struggling with this particular question. But what we have done over here is accept integer and print the first n terms or print integers. I'll just say print So what have we now done? We have printed the numbers in the range of 1 to n in ascending order. That is what we have done. Can you see this output? 1, 2, 3, 4. So when the number was given as 4, it has printed the numbers in the range of 1 to 4. Now let me know if you have understood this particular solution and the way to do the dry run. Quick feedback, everybody tell me, let me know. Have you understood this? Anybody has a doubt? So this was the solution to accept integer and print integers in the range of 1 to n in ascending order. So that is what we have currently solved. Anybody has any question? Prithviraj,
Yes.
have you understood?
Yes.
So you have not given a feedback.
My internet is disconnecting and connecting again.
Give feedback.
Sir,
Yes, please.
सर तो फॉर्मॅट सेम राहतो का ड्राय रन साठी?
Structure तसंच द्यायचं असतं. All the variables that we are used will appear above the line. The initial values of variables will be appearing over here. And then output will be on the left hand side. This is the standard way to represent it. Okay,
sir.
and every pass, this is the first pass, second pass, third pass, fourth pass, fifth pass, may condition became false, will come out. I'll solve one or two problems for you so that you get comfort with this. And this is necessary because we do not always have tool like Flogorithm to help us out. And we are supposed to do the dry run on a piece of paper itself. Okay, so this time around, I'm going to solve the same problem that we had solved earlier. The only difference that will now happen over here is, instead of printing the numbers in ascending order, let's now print the numbers in descending order. Descending order, a range of n to 1, n to 1 in descending order. If user gives number as 5, I want answer to be printed as 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So what we are going to do, we're going to take the same solution so that we can quickly finish up with the, and we'll just spend some time doing the dry run. Here we go. I'm just going to change the color so that we can differentiate. It's a different solution though. Here. So I say, how many terms would you like to have? Oh, that was not about the terms, correct? So let's change the message slightly. I would like to say, so I said please enter integer, and I'll not call it as number of terms. I'll just call it as num. We started with number of terms because of that series example. Because of that series example. Now I was going to say, for counting the range of 1 to number of 1 to num, step 1, if I say, and it is same like what we did previously. Counter value for the first time will become 1. 1 in the range of 1 to, suppose number is 4. 1 to 4 hai, so print karega 1. Then agli bar 2, then 3, and then 4, and so on. So now we're going to change. I'll say, for counting the range of num to 1. So number ka value 1 hai, number ka value 5 hai. So 5 to 1 मुझे print करना है. But here I'm saying step 1. मुझे बताइए, if I take this number as 5, the initial value of counter is 5. So I'm first going to check, is 5 in the range of 5 to 1? Yes. It prints 5, suppose. And you're saying step 1, 5 plus 1 becomes 6. Is 6 in the range of 5 to 1?
No.
Condition false. So it print only one value. We don't want that thing to happen. So instead of saying step 1, I'll say step minus 1.
-1.
So if I now say for counting the range of num to 1, step 1, this num acts as initial value of this particular variable. That means whenever you take for loop, the first value over here acts as the initial value of this particular counter. We did the same thing even in the last example. Here in the last example, we started off with 1. We said for counting the range of 1 to number of steps. So this 1 was stored in this particular variable called as counter for the first time. Here it is this num that will get stored into this variable counter for the first time. Okay, so let's do the dry run once again. Let's do the dry run once again for this particular solution. I'm saying step -1 this time around. So, and don't worry, I'm going to solve the problem statement that was given to you. So all the variables will go above this. So here is what your output will be. Your output is here. Then we have the first variable that is suppose number, and the second variable that is counter. So we have this number and counter, the two variables that we have in the code. आपके दो variables code के अंदर के हैं, number and counter. But we haven't given any initial value for these variables, neither for num, neither for counter. किसी को भी कोई initial value नहीं है. Since they do not have initial value, I'll put it as question mark. कोई initial value नहीं है. Uninitialized variable है. We ask user enter the integer. So user enters integer as 5 this time around. User enters integer as 5. I say for counter in the range of num to num, for counter the first value here acts as initial value of the counter. So counter now becomes 5. And we now check, is 5 in the range of 5 to 1, true or false? Is 5 in the range of 5 to 1, true or false?
True.
True. So we print 5, that means we display 5. And after we have displayed 5, step -1. So if I say step -1, tell me what will the value of counter be now? If I say -1,
4.
4, it becomes 4. Then we check, is 4 in the range of 5 to 1?
True.
True.
Yes or no? Is 4 in the range of 5 to 1?
True.
Yes.
True hai. So we go inside and we display the value of counter. Value of counter currently is 4. So we now display value as 4. After we have displayed value as 4, step -1 once again. So step -1 means what is going to happen? Your num was initially 5 and this becomes -1, this becomes -1. So 4 now becomes 3. 4 now becomes 3. Then we check, is 3 in the range of 5 to 1?
Yeah. Yes,
Yes
sir.
or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
True.
True hai. True hai. So we display 3. We display 3. After we have displayed 3, again we say step -1. The moment you say step -1, your num is still 5, but this now becomes 2. It becomes 2. Is 2 in the range of 5 to 1?
True. True.
Yes. If it is true, we go on to display 2. ये 2 का value हम लोग यहाँ print करें. Then it is showing you the entire passes, how is the program working. And this becomes a very handy tool when you are solving some complex problem, because you shouldn't position trace it on the piece of paper. Remember the concept of dry run that I had told you. There are 3 ways to test the correctness of the code. First, dry run that we will do. Then we'll approach our colleagues. And third one is
Seniors.
and that was called as first one was dry run, second was independent inspection, and third one was
General.
seniors. Okay,
Review
structured walkthrough.
structure.
Okay, independent inspection, third party, and when you give it to the senior, it was structured walkthrough. Okay, so it is 2. We printed 2. After print 2, step -1. So if I say step -1, while this is 5, this now becomes 1. This now becomes 1. Watch it very carefully. Then we check, is 1 in the range of 5 to 1?
True.
True hai. So we print 1 once again. After printing 1, we say step -1. So this counter का value, ये num का value अभी भी 5 ही है. Num का value is still 5, but this counter becomes 0. Now tell me, is 0 in the range of 1 to 5 to 1?
False.
False. We stop and we have printed the numbers in descending order. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is what we have printed. Again, have you understood this way of writing the pseudocode for loop and plus how to do the dry run on your own on a piece of paper? Anybody has a
Yes.
question? Before I go ahead with the next one that we are supposed to solve. In the last 2 examples, over here we had question mark, question mark. That is not necessarily the case every time. Anybody has a question? Rohit, Sagar, Sanjay, Viraj, Prithviraj.
Sir, if you have a given number, then you can put it in the question mark space.
That I'll take. I'll take one example for that. But did you at least understand what we did right now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's go ahead with one more problem statement. I'm in no hurry to just complete the things and just run away. No. We'll take enough time to make sure that you all are very, very comfortable with all these concepts that we are currently discussing. Okay. So let's take one more problem statement. And in this case, we will have some initial value for the variable. So I'll say accept an integer n, accept an integer n or integer and print its factorial. Print its factorial. If I'm going to print a factorial of any given number, I take counter, I take number, and I also need one more variable called as factorial. But this factorial, I will have to initialize it to 1 initially. So I'm going to initialize with 1 directly. In factorial is equal to 1. So I have initialized this variable. And I ask user to enter integer. User enters an integer. So I'm going to say for counter in the range of 1 to number. Yeah, I'm going to say, okay, 1 to number. And step 1. And here I'm going to calculate the factorial. So I'm going to say calculate factorial is equal to
Sir, that step will be one, na?
Come again, please.
Sir, that step will be one, na?
I couldn't hear you. Come again, please.
Step, sir.
Step -1 लिहिलं ते 1 पाहिजे ना?
Yeah. Even if you don't write step, it is assumed to be +1. Huh? So here we go. So we have been asked to calculate accept integer and print its factorial is what I have been told to us.
डिस्प्लेच ते लूप मध्ये यायला पाहिजे ना.
हम्म?
डिस्प्लेच ते लूप मध्ये यायला पाहिजे ना. डिस्प्ले फॅक्टोरियल
एका नंबरची किती फॅक्टोरियल असतात?
एक नंबरचं एकच.
एक ना. मग ते लूप चार्ट टाकल्यावर परत प्रिंट होईल की नाही?
हो.
तर मग परत प्रिंट करायचं, एकदाच प्रिंट करायचंय.
एकदाच.
मग ते लूपच्या आत पाहिजे, लूपच्या बाहेर पाहिजे?
लूपच्या वर.
Okay, so but this is what happens, like, and good that you asked, so that I discussed it. So don't keep something like I'll try, I'll see later. If something is troubling you, if something is coming to your mind, ask. We'll discuss. I'll give you justification. And
Sir.
what you did, what you said, Sanjay, right now is a very common mistake that people do.
Sir,
Ek minute. Yes, tell me.
sir, if you put step 0, then it will come out of the loop or will it fail?
It's a failure situation. Step 0 is infinite. That means the condition is always true.
Okay, sir.
It will never come out of the loop. There you go. We have this variable over here, output. After output, we have the first variable that is suppose number whose factorial is to be calculated. Then we have this variable called as counter. And we have variable called as factorial. We have this variable called as factorial. But in this time around, these variables have been initialized. While num has not been initialized, counter has not been initialized, factorial has been initialized with value as 1. Watch it. Factorial initial value 1. The initial value of the variable will appear above this. So जो भी initial value रहेगा will just appear above the looping construct. वहाँ ऊपर दिखाई देगा. Okay. So this is the initial step. Then we ask user, please enter an integer, and user enters an integer. So we ask the user to enter integer. User enters integer as 4. And assume करो सर आप 4 और 5 क्यों ले रहे बार-बार, छोटे नंबर है, 40 करो तो 40 इक्वेशंस मुझे लिखने होंगे यहाँ. So I just say 4. Then we say counter in the range of 1 to num. Now when I say for counter in the range of 1 to num, रोहित बताइए, राहुल बताइए, काउंटर का पहला वैल्यू क्या रहेगा?
फैक्टोरियल की स्पेलिंग.
राहुल बताइए, काउंटर का फर्स्ट वैल्यू क्या रहेगा?
In the range of 1 to 4, na?
हाँ. So what will the value for counter be for the first time?
First value रहेगा.
क्या रहेगा?
1.
Very correct. So counter is now initialized to value as 1. Because we are saying for counter in the range of 1 to number, I said the start and this stop. The start value becomes the initial value for the loop control variable. And this stop value is when to stop. So I'm saying for in the range of this to this. So lower bound to upper bound. The lower bound becomes the first value for this counter. So it becomes 1. So is 1 in the range of 1 to 4?
Yes, true.
Yes, true है. अंदर गए. Factorial is equal to factorial into counter. देखो factorial का value 1 है, counter value 1 है. So 1 into 1 is
1.
1. After that, step 1. So moment you say step 1, your number is unchanged. Your number is still 4. But step 1 कहने पर counter has now become 2. Counter has become 2. Counter has become 2. So we'll check. Is 2 in the range of 1 to 4?
True.
Yes. So factorial into counter. Factorial का value फिलहाल 1 है. And counter is 2. So 1 into 2 is
2.
2. And then again we say step 1. So that means this step 1 is coming into action after we have executed the statements which are present inside the body of the loop. Okay. Body में आप सब multiply कर रहे हैं. After when done that, so number is unchanged. Number का value was not changed anywhere. So this counter now becomes 3. Then we check. Is 3 in the range of 1 to 4? Prithviraj?
Yes.
Okay, these 3 in the range of 1 to 4, that's condition is true. So we say factorial is equal to factorial into counter. So 3 into 2, okay, now becomes 6. Now becomes 6. And then we check for counting the, and then we say step 1. The moment we say step 1, this is step 4, and this step 1 will increment the value of counter to 4. Then we check, is 4 in the range of 1 to 4? Sanjay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that condition is true. So we go inside, factorial is equal to factorial into counter. So factorial value is 6 here. 6 into 4 now becomes 24. 24. Okay, and after it becomes 24, we are saying step 1. So step 1 कहने पर ये number का value फिलहाल 4 है, whereas this becomes 5. This becomes 5. Is 5 in the range of 1 to 4?
False.
False है. So false है, so we come out and we display value of factorial. The last value of factorial is 24. So we now over here display value that is 24, and that's your final answer. Okay. So here only one output came in 24, and that too when the loop got over. So आपने यहाँ आखिरी में 24 print कर लिया. Have you all understood this? I took several examples just to make you have that comfort level as to how to design. Have you got this, everybody? Okay. So let's take one more example for practice. Or we have some time. No, we don't have that much of time. So what I'll do is I will solve it for you. Accept base and power and display the result of base raised to power. So if I give 2 and 3, 2 is base and power is 3, I want the answer of 2 to the power 3. Okay. तो यानी कैसे चाहिए मुझे? ये base है raised to power. इसका आंसर चाहिए. Base raised to power का आंसर चाहिए. It's a common notation. Some languages have support for this operator. Most of the languages do not have such operator. I know one of the team has relied on this operator, but this operator is not always present in most of the languages. So we will not use
Sir,
this
if
operator.
this operator is not there, then what we can use?
Then you have to calculate.
Okay.
Okay, you have to calculate. And that's precisely what we are going to do. So I take a variable counter. Oh, counter नहीं लेंगे इस बार. और या base.
Direct base और power लेंगे.
Base and power लेंगे. So base and power. And we want to have some result. So I have taken some variables, base, power, and result. I ask the user to enter the base, and he access the base. Then I ask the user to enter the power, and we accept the power. The base of power हमने accept कर दिया. After accepting the base and power, मुझे बताइए 2:3 करना है, तो आपको operations कितनी बार करना है?
Operation 3 times, sir.
Pardon? Base raised to power के लिए you have to do operation of multiplication.
Yes.
How many times do you have to do that operation of multiplication? विराज आप बताइए
3 times, sir.
कितनी बार?
3 बार.
अगर 2:3 है तो.
हाँ.
और x raised to y है तो
1 बार.
x raised to y है तो
1 time.
no.
Why?
I can't hear Bhagyashree.
Y
Aditya?
minus
Y times. Correct?
Y.
So here I say for counter in the range of 1 to 1 to यहाँ क्या लिखो? कितनी बार करना है? 1 to base लिखो या 1 to power लिखो या 1 to counter लिखो?
तो मुझे लगता है power -1.
Power -1 क्यों? Power ही लिखेंगे.
Power.
Okay. अगर if I say 2 is base and power is 4, So I have to multiply 2 into 2 into 2 into 2 4 times. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
संजय
लेकिन ऑपरेशन 3 टाइम्स हो रहा है ना सर.
मुझे 4 बार करना है कि नहीं करना है?
हाँ.
Okay. Okay. So I say for counter in the range of 2 to power step 1 कह रहा हूँ मैं. So this problem will only make sure your operations happen that many number of times. आपको क्या करना है? Base जो है आपका ये result जो है result I initialize it to value as 1 initially, and here I'm going to say now write something like this. Result is equal to base result into base. तो बेस का वैल्यू अगर 4 है एंड पावर का वैल्यू 5 है तो विल से 5 रेज टू 4 रेज टू 5 इज आपका जो भी आंसर आएगा. लेट्स चेक इट. So I say result into base, but then I just have written it just like that. I'm not very sure whether it's right or not. So it's better that we do the dry run. So let's do the dry run to see whether what we have thought is correct or not. So let's do the dry run. And we'll take our variables. So we have some variable. I say here is goes the output. Don't worry, it may be wrong, doesn't matter. We are going to test our code. So I say base, second is power, third is counter, and fourth is result. There are these 4 variables which are there. Watch it very carefully. Yeah? There are these 4 variables which are there. These are the 4 variables that we have. Now, what is the initial value for base? Have you initialized base?
No.
No. So no initialized. Power is also not being initialized. Counter has also not been initialized. But result has been initialized to value as 1. Yes, or no?
sir.
And then we ask user, please enter the base. Say user enters base as 2. And then we ask the power. He says 4. So I want the answer of 2 to the power 4. Okay. So we go inside. For counter in the range of 1 to power. Rohit, tell me what is the initial value of counter now?
1.
Louder?
1.
1. So counter value becomes 1. Now tell me, Rohit, is 1 in the range of 1 to 4? Power ka value 4 hai.
Yes.
Is 1 so we are constructing a loop which will get executed power number of times. Is 1 in the range of 1 to 4, Rohit?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we go inside. Result into base. बताइए result to base का आंसर क्या आएगा रोहित? Result is equal to result into base. Current value of result is 1. Current value of base is 2. So 1 into 2 आंसर क्या आएगा रोहित?
2.
2. After we have done that, we are saying step 1. The moment you say step 1, value of counter will be incremented by 1. It becomes 2. And then we check. Is 2 in the range of 1 to power? Is 2 in the range of 1 to power? Your these values are not going to change. Your value of base is still 2. Value of power is still 4. That has not changed. Only thing that has changed is your counter. So we're saying is 2 in the range of 1 to 4? Is 2 in the range of 1 to 4?
Yes, sir.
Yes, condition is true.
Yes, sir.
Sanjay, आप आंसर बताइए. Result को result into base. So what will be the value of result, Sanjay?
4.
Result value is 2.
And
Power
base
का
का
base is 2. 2 into 2 is 4. You are correct. Now after we have executed this step, Viraj बताइए क्या होगा after I say result to base. After executing the statement inside the body of the loop, what will happen, Viraj?
Sir, counter increase होगा.
Counter increment होगा. Very correct. Counter will get incremented. The base is unchanged. Power is also unchanged. Counter value now becomes 3. Counter value now becomes 3. And we check, is 3 in the range of 1, 2, 4? Yes. So we go inside, result to base. अंकिता बताइए आंसर क्या आएगा रिजल्ट टू बेस का?
सर काउंटर आएगा शायद
वैल्यू बताइए.
3.
3 आएगा. मोनिका, इज दैट राइट?
नो सर 6 आएगा ना.
6 कैसे आया?
बेस सर आई वाज ऑन ब्रेक बट सर 6 असेल ना. 3
How?
into count into result into base.
हाँ.
नहीं
So what
4
is the value of result right now?
4 into 2.
8 आएगा सर.
8 sorry.
8 आएगा. So after doing this, okay. क्या इसका नाम है? नहीं तो नाव विसरलो. Who is the guy who had turned off the camera today? क्या इसका? Sagar, what will happen after performing this operation, Sagar? Result to base. After this operation, what will happen to Sagar?
Sir, it will show the
It will? No. After saying result to base, it will not show the output. Aditya? After performing this calculation, what will happen, Aditya?
हेलो सर लास्ट वो चेक करेगा कि काउंटर वो रेंज में है कि नहीं और बाद में एंड हो जाएगा.
अरे
It
end
will
होगा तो बात की
stop.
बात है. पहला anybody else? Kaustubh, what will happen?
सर काउंटर की वैल्यू इंक्रीमेंट होगी.
Or how many times we have done that? Okay, so counter value will get incremented now. So counter will now get incremented after performing all the operations in the body of the loop, in for loop, arithmetic loop है. Value of counter has to be incremented. तो ये 2 ही रहेगा. This is unchanged. ये 4 ही रहेगा. Counter का value now become 4, and we'll check. Is 4 in the range of 1 to 4? संजय?
Yes sir, true sir.
Yes.
True है तो क्या होगा संजय बताइए? अंदर आने पर?
True and result equal to result into base. 8 into 2 16. 16 आ जाएगा result.
यहाँ आ जाएगा value 16, and after 16 आने के बाद
काउंटर इंक्रीज होगा 5 और
काउंटर होगा 5. hold on. ये 2 था. ये पावर 4 ही है, बट काउंटर हैज नाउ बिकम 5.
5.
ओके, आशीष आप क्या होगा बताइए?
सर आगे लूप एंड हो जाएगा कंडीशन चेक
क्यों?
होके, क्योंकि काउंटर की वैल्यू रेंज से बाहर हो गई.
So it will
Greater
again go
than
back and
power.
check for the condition. Is counter in range of 1 to power? Is 5 in the range of 1 to 4?
फॉल्स.
False है. False है तो बाहर है. And we say the base raised to power. So in that case, ये जो base है आपका, okay, base का वैल्यू 2 है, तो 2 raised to 4 is 16. करके आंसर प्रिंट करेगा. So it will print the message over here. या आउटपुट में प्रिंट करेगा. Okay, 2 raised to 4 is equal to 16. जो भी है, it is not actually this. ऐसे नहीं प्रिंट करेगा. I do not have space over here. या अभी शिफ्ट नहीं कर पा रहा हूँ मैं, इसलिए I am writing it over here. But I shouldn't do that. I should write it in the left side only. जो भी लिखना है मुझे. I'll rather cut this. Oh no. I deleted the entire. That's bad.
अंडूचा ऑप्शन आहे ना सर ते.
Pardon?
अंडूचा ऑप्शन आहे ना.
अब ते करते हुए ना तैयार नहीं. अंडू होत नहीं. Okay. Anyway, you can do it. But we did it. I hope you understood the diagram how to do it, everybody.
Yes
With all
sir.
these examples that we have taken.
Yes.
Yes sir.
And this is very important because we were lucky to have 2 lakh logarithm. It was arithmetic in the program, but you may not be in a position to run the program automatically. It is for you to do the driver. I'm going to share this particular code, but अपना assignment तो बाकी है. I'll solve that as well for you. अभी का example जो था. Okay, I want you to complete this. है ये दोबारा आप ड्राइविंग कंप्लीट कीजिएगा. We had done it. तो बेस रेज़ टू पावर आप दोबारा कंप्लीट कीजिएगा. We'll come back to this solution. Actually undo तो है, होना ही चाहिए था. Why did it not happen? Undo क्यों नहीं हुआ? क्या मालूम? Okay, so let's come to the last one.
सर आपने कट किया था ना इसीलिए नहीं हुआ.
Come again.
कट किया था डिलीट नहीं तो कट किया था कंट्रोल पेस्ट करके ट्राई
किया ना कंट्रोल पेस्ट भी ट्राई किया. It pasted something else on it. पर आपको समझ में आ गया ना, तो आप कर सकते हैं ना भी.
यस सर.
The entire exercise anyway was for you. मेरे लिए थोड़ी मजा. Here we go. अब ये वाला solve करते हैं. This is very interesting. And at times we don't have the shortcuts. One of the team I saw directly operator used there. Okay, and that is not always possible. Let's do it. So I say start. So ये base raised to power ही है. Base भी 5 है, power भी 5 है. It's just like the previous example. Yes or no? Base भी 5 है, power भी 5 है. That's how it is. So I say start. Declare. And we'll define some variables. Integer. Number of terms. I'll write this and आपको उसका ड्राई रन करके देखना है. I'm providing you the solution. और आपको उसका ड्राई रन करने की कोशिश करनी है. ये ऊपर वाला भी ड्राई रन आपको करना है, नीचे वाला का भी ड्राई रन करने की कोशिश करनी है. कोशिश करो. I'll not do it and we'll check it out tomorrow. So I'm just going to stop with the solution over there. And you're going to tell me whether what I've done is correct or not. I'm not going to prove whether my answer is, I'm not going to tell you whether it is right or not. You are going to tell me whether it's right or not. Okay, and that too with a proof. Dry run के साथ आप मुझे proof दोगे. So here we go. Enter the number of terms I have, and then I have a counter, and then I have integer result, and I say display. तो जो भी आपका प्रॉब्लम स्टेटमेंट में सीरीज दिया है, तो how many terms do you want from the given series? ऐसा accept. Number of terms. And then I say for counter in the range of 1 to number of terms. Step 1. That's not regular solution. Step 1 और नीचे सबसे नीचे and for and probably stop. Now whatever operations I want to do repeatedly, that operation I'm going to do over here. So it was 1:1, 2:2, 3:3. So counter ka value for the first time is 1. Oh, I'm not going to explain. You're going to do it. Counter the 1 to number of steps. I come over here. I have one more variable. I think that's the solution. Okay, I'm going to share this file with you all. Do the driving for this. Try and do the driving for this, and let me know whether you have got it or not. So यहाँ loop के अंदर loop है. So the value of the counter will always get reset. So whatever becomes the new value in the new row, you will start with the new value. Every pass that we do. So as we have done the passes, try and do the passes for this as well. And tell me tomorrow if it is right. And if it is not wrong, if it is not right, tell me where it has gone wrong. वो भी आप ही को बताना है. So that's one assignment for you. And I think it's too late. We'll stop over here. But before that, I'll share this particular solution with all of you. हाँ, दो assignment है. ये और ये जो ऊपर का गायब हो गया हमसे गलती से, वो भी complete करो. So complete this and the diagram for the first one. ये वाले इसका भी diagram आप complete कीजिए. So these are two assignments and I want everybody to do it. एक भी ऐसा ना हो आपके बैच में जिसने एक किया नहीं है complete. I take high resolution, I export it, and that file is there for you to see. Have it. So then it's not letting me share the file. क्या बात है? Got it. Have you all received the file? Tell me.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So आपका assignment है दो diagram आपको complete करना. First diagram was to we have already checked it. It's correct. Second diagram में आप करके देखिएगा, कोशिश कीजिएगा and see whether the solution that I given to you is right or not. Take one more question. जिसका pseudo code ही चाहिए मुझे. It's a question that we had already partially discussed. उसे आपको complete करना है. Take the question. Write a pseudo code. नहीं, write a pseudo नहीं. कहेंगे. Accept an integer n. Accept an integer n. And print factors of all integers. And print factors of all integers in the range of 1 to n. I'll explain the question as well. When the number is 1, I want to print factors of 1. When the number is 5, तो मुझे 1 के factors भी चाहिए, 2 के भी factor चाहिए, 3 के भी factor चाहिए, 4 के भी factor चाहिए और 5 के भी factor. If user gives number at 100, तो 1 से लेके 100 तक के अंदर के सारे numbers के सारे factors चाहिए. Okay, and I want pseudocode for it. Write a pseudocode for the same. So no flowchart for today, all pseudocodes. So that's our assignments. And the last one that I've given is very near to what you are being asked to do right now. So try it, do the diagram, and whatever you try, I want everybody to show me the solution. वो गलत है सही है doesn't matter, but I want everybody to show me the solution. तो आप सबको attempt करके आना है. So on that note, we'll stop over here today. See you next time. Take care. Love you all. Bye bye.